Scott Wetzel is not for everyone. For instance, sane people who can easily tell right from wrong or strongly urge to change the channel. Doctors Radio declared listening to Scott Wetzel can be hazardous to your health and can cause sickness, strokes, or wanting to take long walks on short piers. Feelings of agitation, dizziness, depression, frustration, and cold sweats are common when listening to Scott. You can have a bad reaction, such as confusion, redness in the face, teeth clenching, fist pounding, wanting to put a fork in your eye, and feeling the need to throw your radio out the window. Listeners have also reported increased swearing, trouble sleeping, and a strong desire to gamble. Truckers and drivers are urged to stay away. Learn from Jack from Arkansas. As for women, don't even think about it.
Oh no, my nipples clearly got erect.
You've been warned. Now, here's your host, Scott Wetzel.
And welcome to the Scott Wetzel Show on a fabulous Football Friday. Not quite like the Football Fridays we'll have in September and October and then so, but there's still a Football Friday just the same. Little preseason action later on tonight with 3 more preseason football games. We have that. We have baseball. We got some college football notes, little tennis notes. Bad news for tennis fans here in the New York area especially. And a little bit of this, a little WNBA, a little bit of everything as we always do on a Scott Wetzel Show, Monday through Friday right here on FanStream Sports. A Football Friday, just the same, like we said. Yes, what are we going to talk about today, you ask, LLs, LWs? How about MLB recap on what happened yesterday? What's going to happen later on today, more importantly? Astros stink. Rafi's back in Boston. Yannick is out of New York. NFL trends for tonight's games and this weekend's games. Raiders to the rescue last night. What to make of Fernando Mendoza? Indiana Fever on the sports map, and our good buddy Mark Lawrence from PlaybookSports.com will join us in about an hour or so. We'll go over some NFL and college football notes with him. So busy hour. What's going on, LLs? LWs, how are you this Friday afternoon? Getting ready for a big weekend, I suppose. Kind of the last weekend, right, before the storm. Not great college football games next Saturday, but still college football just the same. What do we have, about 7-8 games, depending if you want to count the 1AA, if you will, games. So this is the last really weekend without football for the next, how many weeks, how many months, 5 months, whatever it ends up being. So kind of get your all the chores out of the way, whether it's the yard work, the house work, getting the kids back to college, preparing for the fall, back to school, with the grammar kids and high school kids as well. So this is the last chance to have your little barbecue and just kind of relax a little bit. So, like I said, a lot to get to. Big day up in Beantown as it's Rafi Devers Day. Yes, San Francisco Giants, and more importantly, Rafi Devers returns to Boston, opens up a 3-game series, first time back since the trade last year. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Will he get a standing ovation tonight? I think he will. I do. Like I said yesterday, I don't know if it's necessarily an overwhelming standing ovation, but if it's whether you're going to say it's positive or negative, I think it'll be positive. He did, he was there for 8.5 years with the Red Sox, won a World Series, and he did kind of, talk his way out of town. I understand that, but the Red Sox are doing well and the Giants are doing lousy. If it was the other way around and he was doing great, and the Giants were playing great and the Red Sox were playing lousy, then I could see the fans being a little bit more agitated, but it's not that. And if anything else, they could throw it in Rafi's face. Hey, listen, you talked your way out of town. Now you're on a next to last place team, and the Red Sox haven't missed a beat, made the playoffs last year without you, prepared to make the playoffs again this season without you. So when it's like that, then I think people just tend to be like, all right, you know what? He wasn't a bad soul, right? And he really wasn't for the Red Sox. In 8.5 years, averaged 30 home runs, had, average around 90, 95 RBIs, had 100 or more, 3 times, right around a 270. He was never a great batting average guy. And almost forgetting the World Series, but he had so many clutch hits against the Stankies. Man, if you're a Red Sox fan and you watch them religiously, he was like big, not as good as Big Papi. Nobody. That guy every single time up he always had a clutch hit against the Stanks, right? But Rafi was right there, man. He picked up the torch when Big Papi retired for sure. Big hit after big hit against the Stanks. So because of that, he'll, I don't have any ill will. He didn't want to play first base. Listen, he was young enough. He was good enough. He's seen other players come and go. He's seen them pay what's his face a ton of money for the Houston Astros, who turned out to be basically a bust. So I know no ill will, and I know people think he struggled since he's been with San Francisco, and I know he got up to like a lousy start last year when the trade was made. It really took him about 2 months to really get going, right? And this year people kind of have that same attitude because the Giants stink, but in reality, he's on pace to the numbers that the Red Sox. He's got 25 home runs. He averaged around 30 with Boston. So he'll probably get about 5 more over the last month and a half or so. He has 69 home runs. He'll probably get a good 15, 20 or so, 25 more, depending how things play out. So, he's on pace for about 90 for sure. And his batting average is a little bit lower, 244, but everybody's batting average is a little bit lower this year. It's been a pitcher's year, no two ways about it. So it's not that far off from his batting average, about 15, 20 points maybe. But otherwise, the home runs, the RBIs, the doubles, they're all going to be about the same. He's not the only one, but it's a typical case of when the guy's not with you, you think the numbers should be better. But when he is with you and you watch him every single day, the numbers might not be reflective of how good he is. And that's probably the case with Rafi as far as the batting average. But as I said, he was never a 300 hitter, which just goes to show these guys that put up these numbers and hit over 300 are just so good, right? But the persona, if you're outside of Boston, oh my God, he was the greatest thing in the world, and he hit 35, 40 home runs. He's going to get you 120 RBIs and hit 300. It's like, no, that's not him. People pay, now not in this case because it was a trade, but, teams will pay players like an Alex Bregman, perfect example, like they're really great. Then when you bring them in and they put up basically the same numbers they've been putting up their entire career, and you're like, we paid $30-40 million for this? The guy's got to hit 25, 30 home runs. He's got to get about 90 RBIs. But he's only going to hit about 240. I mean, it's really not that big a deal. A lot of the home runs, meaningless home runs equals meaningless RBIs. Teams down 6-1. He hits a 2-run homer in the ninth. Big deal. We lose 6-3. What's the point, right? But, when you see a player, that's why I always go back to Wade Boggs, if you remember him as a Red Sox, right? A Hall of Fame player. And guy would hit 340 every single year. And that is just like a perfect number 3 spot guy. Just a, perfect, you don't want to bat him cleanup. This is back in the 80s and 90s, right? You don't want to bat him cleanup, but number 3 guy or a number 5 guy even, just ideal for a 330, 340 hitter, right? Gets all the protection in the world. Got to get on base for the cleanup guy. That's old school baseball, right? And the Red Sox always batted him leadoff. And other people couldn't understand, like, why? Well, what are you batting him leadoff for? The guy's hitting 340. Get him up there when there's already runners on first and second, right? And whenever they did, he just wouldn't get clutch hits. He just wouldn't, And it's one of those things. You had to be a Red Sox fan. You had to watch their games or listen to the games, in my case, when I was younger on the radio. And just realized that just for whatever reason, the dude just wasn't a clutch hitter when it came to guys on base. Get him up there when there's nobody on, nobody out, leading off an inning, or maybe 1 out, whatever the case. He'd get on base 9 times out of 10. Get him up there when they were base, first and second, nobody out, or first and second, 1 out, and he'd ground into a double play or fly out. I mean, it was one of those things you had to watch. So that's how it kind of is with Rafi and a lot of other players. When you watch them day to day, you do appreciate how good they are. It kind of works in reverse of what Wade Boggs was. You watch the Rafi Devers day to day, you appreciate how good he really was. But when you're standing from afar, and you're looking at his numbers, you're like, man, 30 homers, a big deal, 25 home runs, 69 RBIs. What it's like, having a lousy year. So no, he's having a Rafi Devers year. As simple as that. Does he miss Boston? I'm sure they'll do some interviews with him. I'm sure he'll pretend that he still doesn't understand English, even though he's been in the United States for well over 10 years. I don't, he would never admit that, right? Since he talked his way out of town, basically. But I would think that he would. Realistically, fans in Boston loved him, treated him great, as I'm sure they are in San Francisco, but there was no ill will with the fans. I don't ever remember him ever getting booed until that last year when there was a whole bunch of grumbling going on. So I would think deep down, yeah, I bet he does, right? Not to mention he's on a lousy team. And Boston, like I said, made the playoffs last year without him and figures to make the playoffs again this year. So I would think the answer would be yes, right? And not to mention he's being shifted all around in San Francisco, right? He talked his way out of Boston, and basically, a year later, the Giants are doing the same thing, moving him all over the place, trying to figure out a spot for him. And that's even with the DH, obviously, in the National League. So it'll be good. No doubt. Like I said, I think in the end, they'll give him a standing ovation and appreciate what he did accomplish there. And you win a World Series with Boston. It's not like we've won a whole heck of a lot of them over the last, 100 years. So I would think that would take precedent over anything else. So it should be a lot of fun. Good atmosphere, right? Normally San Francisco, Boston, they never play each other. Who cares? But you got a little something going later on tonight. Big game this afternoon, or at least on paper anyway, 4:30 start Eastern time. Atlanta and Milwaukee. You got Chris Sale and Jacob Mizorowski pitching for the Brewers. Right? Over-under on that is 6. I don't ever, maybe a playoff game way back when there might have been a 5.5, but regular season game, you don't see too many 6s. You really, in fact, this might be the only 6 so far this season. And like I said, I don't ever remember seeing a 5.5. Maybe a playoff game, but not regular season. So this is as good as it gets, right? Picture this in the postseason, which could happen. National League Championship Series. Sale and Mizorowski, that should be a lot of fun. Over under is 6. It's hard to keep a game under 6 runs. I know you have your 3 1s and your 4 1s and 2 there are 3 2s, but when you're supposed to have 6 runs, it's a little different than when you're thinking it's going to be 8.5, 9, and you end up getting a pitcher's duel, right? Or it's a getaway day and everyone's swinging on the first pitch and they don't care. Great, we've given this out before. As far as trends go, this is game 1 of this series, right? And you know what that means. It brings in the Milwaukee Brewers game 1 trends. I mean, it is as impressive as can be. They are now 50-17 in game 1 of series the last 2+ seasons. 50-17. So if you buy into that, you don't have to twist my arm very hard to bet on Mizorowski. So, but I kind of like then it's also hard to turn down $1.30 or so, $1.35 with Sale, right? How many times are you going to get that? So that should be 2-1 for somebody, but you know what's going to happen. Sale's going to throw 90 pitches in 5 innings. He's going to get yanked. Mizorowski's going to throw 96 pitches in 5 innings, 4 innings maybe. He's going to get yanked. And you're going to get 3 solid, maybe it's 2-1, 2-0 somebody, right? And then the bullpen's going to come in. It's going to implode, as a lot of bullpens do. And all of a sudden, you're going to end up with a 4-3, 5-3 final. And the game's going to go by the over 6. I tell you, if you really wanted to play a hunch on that, I would wait until the first inning, maybe see what happens first inning. If they could survive the first inning, which is the inning where it's 50-50 if a team scores a run, get through that, then get through the second and then third, see what the pitch counts are like, see how long these guys figure to go, and wait for that over-under to drop to 3.5, and then you bet the over. That's how you do it. Don't bet it from the start, because chances are it will be nothing, entering the 4th inning. But if you wait, and again, I'm not counting on 7 runs because Sale and Mizorowski give up 7 runs. I'm counting on 7 runs because the bullpen comes in. And if I only need 4 because I waited for the line to drop to 3.5, then that's the way to go, really, with that one. Unless you want to bet the under, which is, you bet it now. Got 2 series starting tonight that are key series for us. Actually, one started yesterday. Mets and White Sox, and then Pittsburgh and the Dodgers. We got the over White Sox second half team total. We got the Mets under second half team total. And then we got the Dodgers over second half team total. We don't have Pittsburgh's, actually. So it's really the Mets and White Sox. And then, Atlanta and Milwaukee's the other one. As we have the Milwaukee over and Atlanta the under. So those are the two big series this weekend outside of, the Red Sox, obviously. Dodgers do play Pittsburgh later on tonight. Yamamoto's on the hill. The question is, you got to lay 1.5 runs, right? Because you can't lay, minus 250 or so, which is what it's bumped up to now. Because this Dodger team has so many one-run wins. It's amazing. So now the question is, do you lay a 1.5? For our purposes, this is a good chance to just kind of lay off it. This is a good reason why you have season-long bets. Because in a lot of ways, you have action on the game. You need the Dodgers to win. So hopefully this, they swept Colorado. Wasn't easy. Did get 2 games in 2 wins by 2 runs or more, but it wasn't an easy series. But now they got Pittsburgh coming to town. If you can sweep the Pirates, now if you're on 6 in a row, and now maybe you get one of those 9-1, 10-1 win streaks that'll really get our second half over back in play. You got St. Louis taking out Philadelphia later on tonight. Our guy Joshua Baez, boy, you talk about a tale of 2 cities, right? You talk about your 15 minutes of fame. First 3 at-bats last weekend, dude hits a home run. 3 homers, right? I'm sure you heard about it. 3 homers in his first 3 at-bats. He's got superstardom written all over it, right? We joked about how he was supposedly only the 3rd best prospect in the St. Louis farm system. And we're thinking, man, if this guy is the 3rd best, who the hell are the 1st and 2nd best, right? But since that 3 home run performance, he's 1 for 22. I mean, how do you explain 3 homers in your first 3 at bats, and then 1 hit? Forget about a home run. 1 hit in your next 22. I mean, that's more than just, okay, I'm giddy next couple of days. I'm still thrilled about my 3 homers, still getting pats on the back. I mean, that's 7-8 games now. Because one game he only had 2 at-bats and a couple of walks thrown in there. So 1 for 20. So who's the real Joshua Baez, right? This guy's on the verge of being sent down to the minors. I mean, you talk about having just your life change. First of all, he's called up for the minors. He's thrilled. He's sitting on the top of the world for a day. And then, a week and a half later, maybe 2 weeks tops, maybe he's being sent back down to the minors. I mean, is this going to be it for him? Funny how they never show the fans and the family in the stands when the guy's going 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, right? We always get the fans and the family in the stands when the guy's hitting home runs or striking out 15 guys, right? We always get that. How about the fan? How about the family, the mother and the father who are sitting there in the stands and their son's going 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, or their son is, giving up 5 runs in 2 of the 3rd innings and can't get out of the 3rd inning. Where are the parents then? Do they not show up for those games? They only show up for the games when the kid does well. I'd like to see Baez's family now. That would be kind of interesting. So, all right, so we got some baseball on our plate. We'll continue to look at that. We got some winners later on. We'll give that out as well. Big news out of New York. Jannik Sinner withdraws from the U.S. Tennis Open, which begins next week. He's got a right knee injury. Hasn't played since he won Wimbledon, a month or so ago. I'm not going to doubt the injury, and I'd rather have him not play than withdraw in the middle of the tournament. At least I'm not going to put some shekels on him and then have him win, 1, 2, whatever, 3 matches and then withdraw because he's sore, or, whatever. So although it's disappointing that he's not in, I'd rather have him do this now than, like I said, 3 matches later. The other thing is, I just wonder, it took a lot of heat for the steroid stuff after he won Wimbledon. I don't know if he'll ever live that down. Did that play a role in this? I mean, he missed 2 tournaments, one in Canada, one in Cincinnati, leading up to this U.S. Open. So it's not like all of a sudden, he's not playing. But, you just wonder if he just says, it's not worth it. Let this, let another season go by, last major on the tennis tour, and let another year go by, and then maybe start up again next year. You got Alcaraz back, fortunately, for New York fans. Boy, if you didn't have Sinner and Alcaraz, then the Joker would be back in play, right? But he had that at the French Open, in essence, after Sinner lost early and Alcaraz didn't play, and he couldn't win that. maybe Zverev would actually win one of these things. But that's a big U.S. Open here in New York for those that follow tennis that closely. It's like the Belmont in horse racing. Whereas, are there really horse racing and tennis fans, die hard? You're going to get articles every single day in the newspaper? Nah, not. It's an afterthought. It really is both sports. But when they play the U.S. Open, man, they pack that Flushing Queens facility, and I've been there many times, covered it way back when, my younger years. People do love it. They don't sell out because there's always standing room only tickets that you can just walk around the facility. But, the main matches do sell out. They only sell a certain amount of tickets to the main matches. Those sell out, basically from the start of the 2-week tournament and on. They do enjoy it. It's a good show. It's great. It's a great ticket. It really is. For all the, whether it's horse racing, whether it's golf, golf's not bad either. Golf and tennis are probably your best tickets. But, try and get into a Super Bowl, forget about it, right? Try and get into a World Series game, forget about it. NBA Finals game, Stanley Cup Finals game, forget about it, right? And if you're going to get in, you're going to pay through the roof, and chances are you're sitting 5,000 miles away, upper deck, and you can't see squat, right? It's almost literally worthless. You only go there because you say you want to be there, right? But in tennis and golf, those are the two sports. You get good seats. You get on the course early enough in golf, you can walk around with Tiger Woods or Mickelson or, Scotty Scheffler, our age now, and you can see them play. You got a little bit of a gallery, but you can do it, and you can watch all those other golfers without too many issues. And same thing with tennis. You go to the U.S. Open, they have, I don't know how many courts, 15 courts, I imagine, 10, 15, maybe 20. And while, yes, the bigger names play on the main course, you get a lot of times where the bigger names, play in the smaller courses because they're playing, first, second round. They're playing a bunch of nobodies. And they all have stands there, and you could just sit there, front row. No one bothers you, and see the best players in the world, right? I mean, you might not get a Sinner match, but, you'll get a Zverev match. You'll get some of the others, Taylor Fritz matches, some of the best women and men players. So it really is actually a halfway decent ticket, but no Sinner. So when we do, I'm glad we held off on our round robin championship parlay because we would have obviously put him in there. So we got to do that. We may do that on Monday. I don't know if we'll do it today or not, but maybe on Monday since we got the Mark Lawrence coming up today. But on Monday we'll put that in. That's the start of the U.S. Open, so why not? So we'll put the U.S. Open in there. We'll put WNBA we'll put in there, and then we'll find one more that won't take forever. Maybe we'll throw football in there. Who knows? But so anyway, Sinner out at the U.S. Open. Got 3 preseason football games. We had 2 last night. The Raiders end up rallying. They score a touchdown on the next to last play of the game, and they win 22-20. That salvaged our night. We were looking at an 0-for-3, but off the bench, O'Connell comes, and the Raiders get the football at their own roughly 5-yard line with 2 minutes or so left. And I'll be damned if down the field he didn't go and led the Raiders to the game-winning touchdown. Now talk about bad beats, right? Now when we gave it out, the Raiders were getting 1.5 points. That flipped big time. As soon as naturally we gave it out, people must have heard, Vegas must have heard. They flipped the line, and they made the Raiders the favorites. I saw it up to 2. Maybe it was pick them, and I'm sure it did the little -1, 1.5 maybe, but it did settle in at 2, and that's where the Raiders ended up winning 22-20, thanks to their kicker, who missed not 1 but 2 extra points. Including the last one when there was just zero pressure. They scored literally with 10 seconds left in the game. Ball game over, right? There's no pressure on you. It's not like it's a tie game and you got to kick the extra point to grab the lead. It's 22-20. Just go out there and kick the freaking extra point. You missed an extra point 5 minutes ago, when they scored their second touchdown. And he misses the extra point. And they win by 2, not 3. Now again, we put it in when they were underdogs, so it didn't bother. But I knew I saw that line later in the day. I like to go back and just double check the lines and stuff, right? And that sucker went to Raiders -2. And if you're holding on to this ticket, listen, you had no business really even getting the push. You can look at it that way, right? They were down 20-3. I turned the TV set off. I said, this team sucks. I can't believe I bet on this dopey Raiders team. I was ready to write off the Raiders. In fact, I probably will. But there are certain losses that you suffer that you just say, that's it. I'm done with them. I'm not going to bet them ever again. I don't care if they win, in case of baseball, 60 straight games. I'm not betting them. Not betting them because when I watched them, they look like garbage, right? So that was going to be the case last night with the Raiders. I was all set to say the Raiders stink, and they do. I'm not betting them ever again. They're awful, blah, 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 right? 20-3, playing like garbage. And then they end up coming back and they win at 22-20. So they're back on the good side. And that helped us because that was our early win. We were looking at 0-3 last night. So fortunately, we didn't get that. Fernando Mendoza throws a pick-6. His first touchdown pass goes to the wrong team. I don't know what to make of this dude. Did you see, have you seen interviews with him? I have before, all with the Raiders, none necessarily when he was in college. He just comes across like a weirdo. Just it would be hard for me to sit down and if he's really like this, it would be hard for me if I'm an evaluator and I'm thinking about drafting him number 1. To sit there and say, well, that's the guy we want as the face of the franchise. He just comes across weird. It's almost like he's been overcoached. When they ask you, what do you think you're doing? You tell them the truth? No, you don't tell them the truth, Fernando. You say, well, things are a work in progress and we're getting better. Each day goes by, it's getting better and better. It's a work in progress, blah, blah, blah. You just BS them. Well, what do you think about your relationship with Kirk Cousins? Well, he's a jerk. Well, you don't want to say that, Kirk. You don't want to say that, Fernando. You want to say just the opposite. You a little opposite picks. You want to say, oh, Kirk's a great guy. He's helping me out. We get along great. He's got all the cliche answers all down pat, and it's almost like he's answering them on steroids. Picture the classic, I know what you're asking me. I know what you want to hear. I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the woke answer, right? And then add steroids to that. That's what he's like. He's giving you the woke, know nothing answer. But he's going over the top. It's so goofy. And the Bozos last night, right? They had him on the sidelines and they talked to him about his performance and they asked all the basic questions I just mentioned, right? About 3, 4, 5 questions, right? And he did exactly what I said. He didn't answer them. He's just talking, oh, how you doing? Oh, everything is peachy. Everything is great, right? And then they come back and say, oh, what a great interview that was. Oh, what a great guy that guy is. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? Were you listening? Were you listening, Troy? Were you listening, Joe? He didn't say anything. You didn't answer any of your questions. And your sideline reporter was too stupid to follow up a question, have a follow-up question. It was just like, okay, I got 5 questions and I'm going to ask you about 5 different things. I don't care what your answer is. I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to do a follow-up. I'm not going to do a real interview, right? And they're all gloating about how great he is. I don't know, man. The dude seems weird. He again, whether that's them coaching him or that's just him, probably a combination of both. But, there's certain guys, good people, whatever. But, when you walk away from the conversation, you say, man, that guy is weird. That guy is like straight. That's what you get with him. Every interview I've seen, which has been, maybe 3 or 4, right? Not a whole lot, but enough where it's been the same thing. It's like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying not to say? Just speak your mind, dude. Very weird. So I don't know if he's ready to be the face of the franchise. Clint Kubiak, their head coach, has held off naming a starter. I mean, all indications are it's got to be Kirk Cousins. Cousins has played 1 drive in 2 preseason games. So if they weren't going to name Kirk Cousins the starting quarterback, if I'm Cousins, I'd be like ticked off, right? I mean, I know you could see me in practice. I get that, but let me show you a little something in the game. You're going to regulate me to a bench warmer without even, what was my point of me signing with you guys? I thought I was going to get a fair shot at this thing. So I don't know what game the Raiders are playing. Are they going to hold off? Do they really think the team they face, the Dolphins, does it matter to Miami, whether it's Kirk Cousins or what's his face? Mendoza? I mean, they're 2 different quarterbacks, but I don't know. I don't know if there's really that big. The Raiders stink. Raiders are going to try and run the ball, right? That's whether it's with an older Kirk Cousins or a younger Fernando Mendoza. The bottom line is they want to be a running team. So I don't think it really is going to matter that much. But that would be my only guess, right? They kind of keep the Dolphins in the dark. But that team must know. If you're in a real quarterback battle, unless you're the Cleveland Browns, you don't give the guy who's supposed to have the best chance of being the starter one drive in 2 games. And you really don't want to play him game number 3 because you don't want to risk injury. So I'm assuming he's not going to play any next week. So you have enough in practice, I suppose, to evaluate that? I don't know. More than likely, it's going to be Cousins. And then more than likely the Dolphins will lose. I'd rather, as a Dolphin fan, hoping that the Dolphins win, see Mendoza. I'll tell you that. But either way, the Raider team is not a good football team. They really aren't. So we had 2 overs last night. We got a bunch more games tonight. A bunch more, 3 more. Then we got a bunch more on Saturday and then one on Sunday. So we'll go over the trends we gave you last week, recap again how well they did, and then implement them into the game this week, including the over-unders, which were great last week. So we got that. We got some Cleveland Browns news. We got the Dolphins and Giants. We'll preview that. We'll hear from Kevin O'Connell from the Minnesota Vikings on their midget quarterback. And then Joey Burrow making some statements yesterday. So we'll get to all that football. We got Mark Lawrence coming up in about a half hour. Got a little WNBA as well. So busy Friday. Keep it right where it is. Hit that subscribe, like button. We'll take a break, come back, and check out what's happening in the world of sports. The Scott Wetzel Show, fanstreamsports.com, fanstreamsports.com. More coming up.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything. Turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
And welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports on a Friday afternoon. What do we got? 36 past that hour number one, or 2 hours. Again, Mark Lawrence coming up top of the hour. Do some NFL and some college football stuff with him. Continue to talk a little baseball as well, a little WNBA. We mentioned the tennis notes, a little golf as well. Second round underway. We'll keep you posted on that. So a busy Friday. Plus our YouTube chat. If you're watching us on the Scott Wetzel Show on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and fire away. Wife and kids are out of the house, as the LLs, LWs know. They were in the house to start the show, but I kicked them out. I can't, I can't have them here in my studio. I'll call it. I have to clear out the house. The dog gets kicked out. The cat gets kicked out. Everybody gets kicked out. Otherwise, it's just not a comfortable setting. So I'm more comfortable now for sure. Speaking of comfortable settings, the Cleveland Browns this weekend back in action, right? They play tomorrow. They host the Buffalo Bills, and they practice this week against Buffalo. We all know the Bills, one of the better teams in the AFC, the NFL. So it's kind of a linchpin mark for Todd Monken and the Cleveland Browns, how well they could do. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, first of all, God bless you. My father was, right? But so I kind of follow them. I do. I follow them and root for them a little bit, even though my dad's passed away for a couple of years now. But their scale, their bar of being successful is so freaking low that listen to their new head coach.
Looks like we belong. That's all we wanted to see, right? Do we belong? I mean, does our first 11 give us a chance to move the ball and score? And I felt that way today.
I mean, that is so, again, he's not worried about winning and losing.
Look like we belong. That's all we wanted to see, right? Do we belong? I mean, does our first 11 give us a chance to move the ball and score? And I felt that way today.
That is so bad. He's acting like he's a college coach. And his college team is going up against the big and mighty NFL club. You're in the AFC North. You're an NFL team. It really wasn't that long ago when Baker Mayfield took them to the playoffs before you ran Baker out of town. I mean, you have Jim Brown as your history. You won championships. You got Vinny Testaverde. You challenged for championships. I know it's been a long, long time. I get that. And I know they've fallen so far down the pecking order, with all the nonsense with Deshaun Watson, the winless seasons before him. I get all that. Believe I've lived it. I understand it. But to think that all you're worried about is showing that you can compete? Really? And that's your first unit, and that was with Deshaun Watson. So what does that tell you about Shedeur Sanders, who starts tonight with the second unit? Oh, by the way, so it's just not a good look when you say you're amazed and impressed with your club because you were able to compete. I mean, first of all, it's the Buffalo Bills. Right? I mean, if there was a veteran team that could the rats behind about, the preseason, it would be Buffalo, albeit they have a new head coach. But still, they're not going balls out in a preseason, in a practice, no less. It's not even a game. He's worried about being, getting, the toe-to-toe with the team at practice. Oh, the Browns are going to be bad. They're going to be bad. I have a funny feeling. If you bet against all these first-year head coaches this season, you're going to make some money. Not first-year guys who have been head coaches before, so not the John Harbaughs of the world, but the Clint Kubiaks, the Todd Munkins of the world, the Jeff Hafleys of the Miami Dolphins of the world. because I think all these guys, not in the case of Munkin, but the other two, these guys are so young and so inexperienced, they don't know what's going to hit them. And I think the teams are going to be the same exact way. I do like Hafley, though. The more and more I listen to him, I really wish I would have been so more encouraged about this Dolphins season if they just said we're starting Quinn Ewers. Yeah, he sucks, though, Scott. Why would you want him? Because I know he sucks. Because then I know they're just trying to lose, get rid of all the dead cap money that they are getting rid of, finish with 1-2 wins, and just get the number 1, number 2, maybe the number 3 overall pick, and then start fresh next season. As much as I'm not a Willis fan, he might be good enough to get them 4 or 5 wins. I mean, I honestly don't see it, but, maybe Malik will be so good that he'll get us, 4 or 5 wins, but that'll put us in the number 5, 6, 7 slot. I don't want to draft 5, 6, 7. If I know it's going to be a lost year, I want it to be a lost year. I'm a big believer. If I'm going to do something, do it right. And doing it right for the Dolphins this year is winning 1, maybe 2 games and getting a top 2 pick. I don't even want to get 3rd. I really don't. So, but I do like him. I think in the long run, the Dolphins are better with Hafley being their head coach.
Tough. Like anybody who's been around me and watched us play, I want to toe the line and I want to play physical and I want to be tough, but fighting's not tough. And I told him, if you're frustrated with a guy and you get pushed or shoved, tell him I'll see you next play. And then go play the next play and do it again. That's tough. That's mentally tough, right? Because in a game, what's going to happen when you get frustrated? You're going to get thrown out of a game. If you throw a punch, you're gone. Especially now with the new rules, they're going to be able to see it. I mean, it's not part of the game. So I'll be really disappointed. If a guy throws a punch, he's out. We haven't had that happen in our practice much. And the other thing is, I told him, I think there's a brotherhood in the NFL that you got to respect that all these guys right now, these 180 players, they're all trying to earn a job. And there should be a mutual respect about the guys in this league on how hard they're working to get a job. You're being evaluated by both staffs today, right? And you want to try to fight and hurt a guy on the other team? I mean, that's just, I've seen it. I get it. It gets chippy. It's going to be hot out there. But if you want to find out who's really tough, find the guy who walks back to the huddle, lines up, and goes at it next play. I will be really, really disappointed. Could it happen? Sure. I will be very, very disappointed, and it will be addressed immediately if it happens.
All right. Listen, that's what I want to hear, right? I want the guy that says, the toughness is walking away. The toughness isn't fighting the battle. You're not going to get hurt. You're throwing punches. You're hitting people in the helmet. You're hitting shoulder pads. You're not hurting anybody. You have a better chance of getting hurt yourself throwing a punch than you do hurting the opposing player because of the helmet and the face mask and everything else, right? The only issue I would have with Jeff Hafley right now is how young he is, and he's not at that point now. He's first-year head coach, so I don't necessarily expect this, but, you could get it still. Whereas I don't think the real leader, the real boss, the real disciplinarian even has to say that stuff. And he said it a couple of times. And keep in mind that came from yesterday, on a day in which the Giants and Dolphins had about 15,000 fights. That's why it was brought up, So he's sitting there saying, I told these guys, no, don't fight. You if you fight, you're going to get kicked out of practice. What's going to happen? I want to see how well you would do in a game in a similar situation, right? So this is coming after the Dolphins and Giants had literally about 15 minutes of brawls yesterday. So if the head coach has this attitude, then how come the players are still fighting? And what that tells me, Dolphin fans, is, the team hasn't necessarily bought into him just yet. They don't respect him. He's too young. He's too inexperienced. He's too rah-rah. He says all the right things. That all makes a whole lot of sense, right? All that stuff. But, you got to remember, you're talking to bird brains here. That's where I think the veteran head coaches, they either accept it or they put their foot down. But I think a lot of them just accept it because they know these guys are idiots. These guys will be, working overnights at 7-Eleven if they didn't have a football uniform on. We're not talking about brain surgeons here. So they're juiced up beyond belief. That camaraderie, rah, feel good for the other guy. You're all on the same side type of thing. Listen, there's a lot of guys on that football field that, aren't going to see the light of day when it comes to making a roster. So they're not worried about somebody else. They want to make a name for himself. Simple as that. And if it means getting into a fight, maybe that'll impress his head coach. Maybe that's what he thinks. So Hafley says all the right things, but a veteran head coach doesn't have to say it. He knows. He's laid that law down in practice, and the guys know. You get in a fight, you're out. That's it. You're off the team. I'm not here to evaluate how well you can fight in a football uniform. I'm here to evaluate how well you can block or how well you can tackle. So when you say those things publicly, that tells me that he doesn't really, the message is not really getting across. Not yet. It's a lack of respect. It really is. And listen, sometimes you're going to have to learn. Some cases, all right, they're going to get into another fight, this week or next week and kick a guy off the team or kick him out of practice, do what you say you're going to do, and let these guys know you mean business. Because right now, I got a feeling that they're challenging him. I really do. Minnesota quarterback Kyler Murray get the start. Unlike with some of the other teams, the Vikings did announce that he is going to be the starting quarterback, right? And the biggest fault of his is he goes about 4'10", right? That and he doesn't like to practice and look at game films and look at game notes. So even their head coach, maybe he's kind of blind to the situation. But that's been the knock on Kyler, right? Obviously, he's small, 5'10". And the other thing is that, he doesn't look at the playbook. So here's Kevin O'Connell yesterday talking about some of the problems Kyler Murray is having.
Just curious about what you've learned about how he overcomes the height issue, sort of seeing the field, and just how he's still able to make completions like he did yesterday downfield.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know if you guys caught it in Drew Brees' Hall of Fame speech. He told the story about when he told Cam Cameron and Brian Schottenheimer he couldn't see somebody who was open, and they told him it's your job to see. So, the other day in practice, because I showed the quarterbacks that clip and I showed them some other things because I thought Drew did an unbelievable job in that speech. But he couldn't see on a play, and he didn't want to tell me that, so he prefaced it with, I know I'm not allowed to say this, but, and, we both got a laugh out of it. It's going to happen from time to time. Depending on the angles and how the protection and the rush kind of pattern works. That's going to be part of it, but he also has a lot of experience understanding space based upon the defense that they play, space based upon what we're trying to do from a standpoint of attacking voids and vacancies. And so we've seen some really good examples of him being able to overcome that, play in rhythm and anticipate some throws. And we've also seen some times where we got to get more reps of what that throw actually
should be cut off there. Dude can't see. He's too small. I mean, have there been 5'10" quarterbacks, 6 feet quarterbacks? The Doug Flutys, the Drew Breeses, right? Yeah, but and it is. And if you can't, listen, if you're 5'10", you're not going to be able to see over. So it is your job as the quarterback, which is what they were saying there, to find a way, to find the lane. That some quarterbacks can see over. I don't know how they do. I really don't, because you could be 6'2", 6'3", but defensive linemen, with their helmet on, the cleats on, their arms raised up in the air. I don't know how the hell they're seeing downfield either, to tell you the truth. But it's your job as the quarterback to find the lane to see these guys. And if you can't, then you're not an NFL quarterback. And that's, if you watch Kyler Murray play, and I have, all his plays are all scrambling. When you flush him out of the pocket, then he can maneuver and he can throw the football with the best of them and is a good quarterback. But it's the old saying that you always say, you can count on one hand literally how many scrambling quarterbacks, or at least put it this way, how many non-pocket passing quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl. There really aren't that many. You could throw Mahomes as a scrambling quarterback, but he clearly obviously has the ability to drop back and pass. These quarterbacks that need to scramble to find their lanes, to look downfield, they don't win Super Bowls. They just don't. Russell Wilson, maybe you want to throw in that category, might be one. But other than that, There's a reason why those guys don't win. They can't see. They don't, because you can't scramble every single play. You just can't. And that's Kyler Murray. There are times he looks great, which is why I don't doubt Minnesota will get to 9 wins and eclipse their 8.5 win total. And there'll be times he's going to look great. He's going to hook up with Justin Jefferson, and it's going to be the greatest offense in the world. What was Arizona doing? Blah, 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 blah. But then there are going to be other games, in the big-time games against the big-time defenses that he's going to look like, the midget that he is. Simple as that. And he's not going to win. Good enough to be in the NFL. Yep. Good enough to maybe be even a starter. Yep. Good enough to really win? Nah. I really doubt it. I think Detroit wins that division. I think Chicago's in second place, maybe the other way around. I think Green Bay's probably in third, and I got Minnesota in last place. And then Minnesota, I don't know what to do. They got the quarterback guru there. Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback genius. The only quarterback he ever won with, he ran out of town. I don't know how he's going to escape this label, but that's Kyler Murray. A day after being told, "Don't tell me you can't see down the field," is the day that he ends up telling the coach, "Hey, coach, I can't see down the field." 9-8, maybe 10-7. Different goals for our boy Joey B, who kind of laid it on the line. Joe Burrow and the maybe future Super Bowl champion Cincinnati.
We're doing that June, July, and August right now.
Trying to put it out. I'm trying to put it out into the world. I'm trying to manifest it. I'm trying to show our guys the urgency that I have and that I want us to have as an organization to go and make it happen. You can keep pushing it down the road, or you can talk about it now and say this is the year. And I'm tired of saying next year. This is it. Your life is too short to keep pushing things down the road, and I'm trying to instill some urgency and some intensity in everybody to go and be great every day and try to go make it happen.
Yeah, there you go. That was, he was asked about, how he told the world that, this is the year Cincinnati's got to win it. It's no more, pushing it down the road and all that other stuff, as he said. I don't know if this is it or not. The parallelism of him and Dan Marino right now are scary, similar. High draft choices, first number 1 overall for Burrow, and the Dolphins got him 22, 23, something like that. Both go to the Super Bowl their second year. Both think, okay, both have great wide receivers. No reason to think that we're not going to get back there. And here we are, 4 years later, and he hasn't gotten back there. Whether it's injuries, whether it's to him, whether it's to other players, whether the head coach is a dope, defense sucks, whatever the case may be. Bottom line is, it's been 5 seasons since they went to that Super Bowl, and they've had decent years, 12-4 the following year. That's the year they got screwed by the refs call against Kansas City. But then he got hurt the next year, then only 9-8 2 years ago, and got hurt last year and played only 8 games, and he went 5-3. So, listen, he's, what is he, 28, 29, something like that? 29, yeah. So he's got realistically, 4, 5, at least good more years if he were to stay healthy, right? At least. So he's got some time, but he's on the Bengals. Out of all the teams, they actually made some moves this offseason. That they re-signed their wide receivers. They got those guys, so they kept that offense intact. They traded for Dexter Lawrence, traded a high top 5 pick for him. So that should help the defense. So they are doing things this year, I will say, that make it seem like, okay, that they really do want to try and win. But it's easier said than done. It's not easy, being a winner. It just isn't. Are there any big-time free agents signing with the Cincinnati Bungles? No. So you got to draft all these guys. Their offense is second to none. We get that, but defensively, this year, though, Pittsburgh, I think, is going to come back to the pack. The Browns are still the Browns, and you really only have Baltimore. And you don't even really know what you're going to get with Baltimore with a new head coach. So it does seem like if it doesn't happen this year, man, when's it going to happen, right? But the Buffalo Bills are saying the same thing. The Baltimore Ravens are saying the same thing. If it doesn't happen this year for our team, when's it ever going to happen? Ever, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it'll still be Kansas City's, conference to reign if Mahomes gets healthy. Whatever's keeping them down, whether it's the head coach, whatever, they have so much potential. Boys in Vegas still giving you 20-1 with them. It's still a fat number. It really is. I'm on them. I root for them. I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback this side of Mahomes in the NFL when he's healthy. But, I don't know if if anything, the sense of urgency would be for the head coach, who only has 2 years left on his contract. And the Bungles are cheap. No two ways about that. But I think if they failed again this year, and Joey B went upstairs and complained just a little bit, I got a feeling Cincinnati would be willing to eat 1 year. Everybody's willing to eat at least 1 year, even the Bengals on a contract. It's probably not that much anyway. So the sense of urgency might not be with the team, but it's got to be with, the head coach, who has been given a great team. And I don't think this, the mark of a good head coach is if you get fired, would you get offers the next year? And I don't think too many people would be knocking down Zach Taylor's door. If you can't win with Joey B and Chase, Lamar Chase and Chase Brown, I don't know how many people really would be wanting you. Maybe as offensive coordinator, that I could see, but as head coach, so this is probably it for him. It really is. So got 3 preseason games later on tonight. We got Pittsburgh at home as the Aaron Rodgers reunion tour continues. They played Green Bay. Pittsburgh did last week at home. Now they got the New York Jets at home. Jets are laying 1.5 on the road, which I find interesting. We got Carolina laying 1.5 at Jacksonville. And then we got the Denver Broncos at home laying 5.5 against the Green Bay Packers. I know the Packers didn't play well last week, but that was actually a close game for 3 quarters, and then the fourth stringers came in. So I'm a little surprised Denver, which doesn't figure to be playing Bo Nix that long, if at all, would be laying that much. That's a big fat number. That really 5.5 for a preseason game. And then don't forget we got our over/under systems. We'll go over all the systems that we did last week. Last week we were pretty good. If you played them all, we went 20, 13, and 2 against the spread. If you played all 5 or 6 of the systems, we'll give those out again later on in the program, and we'll give you the picks as well. So got Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com, joining us next. That's PlaybookSports.com. We got that. We got some WNBA notes to get to, all our plays that we're going to give out for the weekend, and a couple little tidbits here and there. What else we got? We'll leave you with this. We can't forget about that. Indiana Fever on the mend, and then some of the NFL trends for this weekend. So busy hour number 2 coming up next. We'll start it with Mark Lawrence, PlaybookSports.com. He's coming in right after this quick little break. FanStreamSports.com, FanStreamSports.com. See you in a bit.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything. Turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to FanStreamSports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the J.P. Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. FanStreamSports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. FanStreamSports.com.
Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka. Named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza on this Football Friday. A little preseason football tonight. We got a bunch more games tomorrow. Mark Lawrence from PlaybookSports.com will join us hopefully in a little bit here, and we'll get some picks from him. But I will say, had 2 plays last night, or 2 games last night, right? And according to our systems, one went, both of them were supposed to go under, but both went over. So we got a bunch of preseason things we'll get to in a little bit, who to play on, who to play against, and all that other stuff that we did in week number 1, which turned out to be pretty profitable. But first up, let's welcome in our typical Friday guest. Beautiful day it is here on Long Island. Hopefully it is by you, Mr. Mark Lawrence. PlaybookSports.com. What's going on, Mark? How are you this Friday?
Well, Scott, I would say if 96 degrees and 90% humidity is a good place to be, it is nice, but I'm inside in the air conditioning.
There you go. It's always nice when it's inside, no matter what it is outside, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. And we had some tornadoes in my county, not near us, but not really that far away on Long Island last night. So it was bad. It's been bad the last couple of days. Yeah. So. Got some preseason games. I know you're not huge on watching some of this stuff. I think you said that last week. I get that. Well, let me touch with the Raiders quarterback situation, Mark. I mean, I can't imagine that Kirk Cousins is not starting. He's only played 1 series in 2 preseason games. So I don't know how they could say it's not you when you don't give him a chance. But then I'm trying to figure out what's the rule or what's the goal of not telling the world. Are you keeping the Dolphins? Are they playing week 1 that much in suspense in the dark? Does that really matter? What do you make of the Raiders QB situation?
Well, I don't think there's much need to keep the Dolphins in the dark.
Yeah, right.
They may be the worst team in the National Football League this year. But who knows what Clint Kubiak is thinking as far as Mendoza is concerned. Maybe he wants to get him some reps before the season begins. I don't know. That's sort of what training camp is all about. Just a little bit surprised, no Kirk Cousins, but he knows what he's got in Cousins. He knows what he can do, what he can't do. And I think everybody would be stunned if it's not Kirk Cousins to open the football season.
Yeah, I think most people making any kind of season wagers with the Raiders have to assume that Cousins is going to be the guy. So
sure.
How about your Cleveland Browns quarterback situation? I have my own with my Miami Dolphins. You have yours with the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders is going to get the start tomorrow, but I guess he's going, Mark, with all the second stringers. Whereas Deshaun Watson last week got to start the game with all the first stringers. So, I mean, is Shedeur getting a fair shot at this?
Well, that should be nothing new to Shedeur Sanders because when he played a lot last year, he played a lot of scrap time with backups. And if he starts tomorrow's game with backups, it'll be nothing new. I think there's a battle going on there, and I don't think Jeff Monken right now, as we speak, knows who's going to be the starting quarterback. Or if he does, he's not ready to divulge it. Personally, I think that the owner will put the arm on Monken and say, let's see what we've got left in our investment here. Let's open up with Watson, see what he's got. Does he have anything? If not, we know what Shedeur Sanders can do. So it might not be a popular choice because he is not popular in Cleveland at all as Deshaun Watson. Even though he moved there and he's lived there for the past 2 years, and he does a lot of social function things, but the fans in the stadium simply do not like the man because he badmouths the fans, probably, mostly of all. But I think it'll be Watson to start the season and Sanders at some point in relief to come in.
Yeah, that's such a we've talked about. It's such a weird situation. It's like why wouldn't you want to listen? Your first year head coach, you have room to spare, and why not put Sanders in? And if he fails, he fails. Then you just move on from next year. I don't quite get the Deshaun Watson fascination after all these years and all the money they've wasted. Why give him a chance to breathe new life into that? I don't get that. So. Looking at your coffee club this week, one of the daily things that Mark sends out on his website, playbooksports.com. And I like this team, but I was going over some of the prop numbers, Mark, with the Denver Broncos. And, man, all their players, whether it's the quarterback Bo Nix or the wide receivers, they all have numbers really lower than what they've been averaging. And I'm like, what do they know about this Denver Broncos team that we don't? Because, man, I would think they'd be coming into the season with a huge chip on their shoulder, step from going to the Super Bowl. But you pointed out in the playbook that history says that the Broncos are due for regression, are they not?
Yes, they are. They're one of the teams that improved the most in net wins per season last year. And what goes up usually comes down. And another key factor in Denver stepping down is the fact that they won more one-score games than any team in the league did last year. That's never a good omen because that levels out real quick the next football season. So, you've got 2 strikes against Denver before they open the football season, which means that they'll have to play some excellent football to avoid all those pitfalls, if you will, per se. And they live in a real tough neighborhood, Scott. As you know, the AFC West is one of the tougher divisions in the league. It's all going to be on Bo Nix. If he can perform as well as Sean Payton feels he can, they'll probably be in the playoffs. If they don't and they disappoint, we'll know why.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Denver, they play Green Bay later on tonight. Big number, 5.5. I know it was 6.5 at one point, which is an unusually big number for a preseason game, Mark. And we got that one. We got Carolina laying 1.5 at Jacksonville, and we got the Jets laying 1.5 at Pittsburgh. You like any of the games tonight?
Well, I do like the Green Bay side, and if for no other reason, just plain simply out of my well-oiled machine, the database. If you look at teams since 2000 in this newest century we're in here, in week 2, any team that's off a loss, the opponent's off a win, just that simple. Those teams that are off the loss are 104 and 79 against the spread. Wow. That's a pretty nice off-the-cuff number, if you will. That supports the Green Bay Packers here in this football game. I like them. I think they're one of the better plays on the board this week.
Yeah, and that was a misleading final, too, against Pittsburgh. They ended up losing, 28-9, right? But it was a one-score game in the fourth quarter, so that was a little wacky. So how about on Saturday? Got a full slate of Saturday games. Give me 1 or 2 that jumps off the board for you.
Well, throw some at me, Scott, because I'm not sitting here. Okay, I'm sitting here without my schedule in front of me, so I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. I'll give you another one that's got a big number. Kansas City at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's laying 5.5. They lost last week. Tampa Bay did win, so that falls into your win versus loss category, I guess, right?
Well, there's it's pretty neat. The preseason football newsletter has a lot of really good stats in it, and one of the really good stats is against Kansas City here, and this is incredible. In fact, we call it our incredible stat of the preseason, and here's what it is, Scott. The Kansas City Chiefs are 9-31 to the spread in the preseason when coming off a loss against an opponent off a win, including 1-23 straight up and 3-21 against the spread as a dog or favorite of less than 2 points. That's the Kansas City Chiefs in the role that they're going to dress up this week. That tells me I'm not going to touch the game with a 10-foot pole. But I do like Kansas City this football season here. I think, what they did last year was a misnomer that brings them back here as a clear and simple a mission team this football season here. And they will be on a mission. But I don't know if it happens in the preseason, and I don't know if it happens tomorrow here. I do not like Kansas City in the game.
All right. How about Philadelphia laying 2.5 against A.J. Brown and the New England Patriots?
Well, it's a little bit difficult here. Preseason teams in the preseason that were the Super Bowl losers, as New England will dress up all season long this year, do not fare well after they have a game under their belt in the preseason. That's against New England here. And I'm going to be against them pretty much most of the season here as well. So it's a tough game for me. I'm not going to touch either side, but I'm certainly not going to be anywhere near the New England Patriots.
All right. I think most people agree with you on that. It'll be interesting to see some of the lines this year for their games and really see how A.J. Brown kind of mixes in with them and everything else. I know in the coffee club, college football-wise, you had a bunch of guys that are on the hot seat. And there are a bunch, right? College football, man, you don't get much room to maneuver. You get 1, 2, maybe 3 years, and all of a sudden, if you're not championship contenders, you're in a whole lot of trouble. So, how much fun was writing that article?
Well, it wasn't hard. I think the one guy that kind of got an exception, although not due to what he did last year, was Bill Belichick, and he's around because he's Bill Belichick. I don't think he'll be around next year personally if he endures what he did last football season here. I think he's got a little bit more on the side going on than he does in the football playing on the football playing field this football season here. So what I like to do is take a look at the short list of those players, or those coaches, I should say, and watch them during the first month of the football season. If they get out and meet with success, some straight up and point spread success, you can maybe tamper that down a little bit. But if they come out of the gate struggling, that means there's pressure, and that means they're succumbing to that. So, I would be careful of these teams, these coaches that are on the hot seat who struggle early on in the college football season.
Give me some teams that are not in the Power Four. I know you wrote this week as well. That might be challenging for a playoff spot. We all know, there's at least one of those teams. Last year was Tulane. In fact, there were two last year, but the Tulane would be in one of those teams. I know you wrote an article on that. Give me a couple of Cinderella type of teams from these Power Six, if you want to call them that, conferences.
Well, truth be known, Scott, a group of 6 teams this year are relatively lightweight, and I don't. No, does a team have to? Is it mandatory that a group of 6 team makes the playoffs?
Yeah,
it is. Well, then if it is, then
they change. They change the rules all the time. I know last year it was, and that was the big debate of which one it'll be. So if the rules are the same as last year, then yes, there's got to be at least one.
Well, what happens to these teams that the continuity goes away is because when they do well, the coaches get hired away. Look at John Summerall at Florida. I mean, my goodness, what a plum job he got after resurrecting 2 programs. They each were sour sub-500 teams 2 years in a row, and he took both of them to championship games each in 2 years. So he was rewarded in doing just that. And what I would do if I'm looking at these group of 6 teams, I'm going to go right to the head coaches and see which of these head coaches look like they've been there, they've done it before, and they can possibly do it again. Again, there's no teams jumping off of the page to me that way. And I'm going to, again, watch these teams come out of the gate and see how they do. But, you've got some pretty good head coaches that are there in division, or I shouldn't say division, group of 6 programs here that are salivating to become big-time head coaches. So I would scour that list up and down. And I don't want to go on record because I don't feel there's a team worth going on record with, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm going to watch them almost game by game in this sense. It's a little bit difficult when you're looking into the season and forecasting season wins and those types of things. They're really out of your control because of injuries, continuity, momentum, and all that type of stuff. And it's that way also projecting from a group of lower level college football teams, which one is going to rise from the pack. And, it's not going to surprise me. You'll have your Tulanes in there. They're going to probably be a pretty good football team here. Memphis will probably be a pretty good football team here this year as well. But other than that, there's no horse I'm going to be riding in the Group of 6 race stakes this football season.
All right. Tell me what's going on at the website, playbooksports.com.
Well, we're doing a lot of good things. We just we gave the website a whole new look, a whole new design. It's a lot easier to get in and surf around and see things. And there's a lot of good things going on there. You mentioned the coffee club. That's very, very popular. Thankfully, it's grown to be very, very popular. And anybody that can get the coffee club, you can't buy it. You can't get it. The only way you get it is if you subscribe to any of our publications, whether it's the newsletter, whether it's we have 3 newsletters on there, Scott. Totals Tip Sheet, our midweek newsletter, my newsletter, or any of my services. But that coffee club is a free bonus. It's in your inbox every day at 6 a.m. in the morning. And I have to laugh because
who's putting that together that early?
What's that?
I said, who's putting that together that early in the morning? I'll tell you that.
That's what another different radio host asked me. He said, "How on God's green earth do you get that thing out there at 6 in the morning?" And I says, "It's a thing called technology. You get it ready the night before, you put it in the queue, and the email shoots out at 6 a.m. in the morning." So, that's the secret to it. But I love doing it because what it does is it keeps me sharper on my toes here as well. If I learn things, that allows me to go in my database and query around and maybe extract on some good things like that. So I love, I just, even after I write it, Scott, the next day I'm reading it as if I read it for the first time. So It's really, really good reading. And sometimes the bottom line here is, Scott, if it finds one winner for you that you didn't have, it's one more winner on your ticket that week.
Absolutely. It's got a lot of tidbits in there, a lot of trends, storylines, everything else. And don't forget, you get Mark's playbook. You get all of that at Playbook Sports. There you go. Playbooksports.com as well. Mark, great job as always, man. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk again next Friday.
Hey, enjoy the game, Scott. Be well, and I'll catch up with you Friday. Thank you.
All right, man. There you go. Mark Lawrence, playbooksports.com. Great website. Got all the picks, got all the plays, and then he's got his preview of the college football and college or NFL preview. So I know with Mark. Mark's more into games more than he is like season props and that sort of thing. So once we get a little bit more games to talk about, then we'll delve into quite more. So it's not just, I don't want to say fluff, but it's not just, it's more, pick a couple of games and then Mark will give us some winners. So glad that he could join us every Friday. So we do have some preseason games later on tonight. Now, we gave you these trends last week. We're going to follow them up, because it's one thing to give out a trend, as I told you. If you're not going to use them, then what's the point, right? So last week, we gave out a bunch of trends. Went 20-13-2. Right? We had play on guys. You're going to play on Robert Saleh. You're going to play on John Harbaugh. We have play against guys. You're going to play against Dan Quinn. You're going to play against the Dallas Cowgirls. You're going to play against Tampa Bay. You can try to throw Cincinnati in there and Detroit in there as well. And a lot of times, I'll tell you, the NFL is shrewd. They really, man, they don't miss a beat. They really don't. Why do I say that, Scott? Because you see a lot of Detroit versus Washington this week, right? So what? Detroit's a play against team. Washington is a play against team. They balance each other out. We saw that last week with Cincinnati. Who was Cincinnati playing last week? I forget who. But Cincinnati's a play against team. They were playing another team that's a play against team. I don't think that's by coincidence. I really don't. I think the NFL gets these things. It's like a little game the NFL plays. They know gambling is a big, 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 big part of it. And I don't even think they want to downplay it. They really don't. They almost encourage it. But they follow some of these trends as well. And I think, they want to keep the league one step ahead of the gamblers as much as they appreciate the gamblers. So they'll put 2 really good preseason teams against each other, throwing out all the trends. Or they'll put 2 bad preseason games, against each other, throwing out all the trends. Or they'll make, the number that the over-under is 37.5, right? You know how many games this week the over-under is either 36 or 37.5? Damn near all of them. So, you could play that trend still, obviously, but it makes it harder when, it's not 39 or 41 or 42.5 and you're going to go under. They're going to make, if you're going to go under 37.5, and by golly, we're going to make that line 37.5 because we know where you're going to go under anyway. So that they make it tough. They really do, but that's okay. We enjoy it just the same. So we want to follow up on these things. So we're playing always on Saleh in Tennessee, right? Because he was great with the New York Jets. They did win and cover last week as road favorites. Remember, they beat San Francisco. So they're 4.5 road favorites again against Seattle this week. That's the Sunday night game, the standalone game. You know, it's tough to lay 4.5 with Tennessee, especially since Cam Ward looks so bad. But that's the trend. You got to play on John Harbaugh. You know, he got a push last week, getting 3 against Minnesota. So they're now laying 3 against Miami. If you want to play that, then it's Giants laying 3. Our 3 play against are really 4. You got the Washington Dan Quinn, who got the win last week. Did they beat Cincinnati? I know there's in a regular season, preseason. I tend to forget. I think they played Cincinnati last week. No, they played the Dolphins. I forget. They played the dopey Dolphins. So they won, but Dan Quinn is still 8-17-1 against the spread in preseason games with the Redskin Potatoes and the Atlanta Falcons. So let's go Detroit, even though Detroit's a dead team. See, again, Detroit and Washington, 2 bad teams. So they really kind of cancel each other out. Dallas, despite winning last week, still only 8-24 straight up their last 32 preseason games. Arizona laying 1.5 against the Cowgirls is the play there. And then you got anti-Tampa Bay, even though they did also win last week. Kansas City's getting 5.5. That's a big number in a preseason game. So give me Tampa Bay. So the play against and Cincinnati as well. We play against Cincinnati because they're atrocious in the preseason. They are basically pick them getting 1.5 against the Chicago Bears. So Chicago would be play against Cincinnati. So on Detroit, because it's an anti-Washington play, on Arizona with an anti-Dallas play, Kansas City with an anti-Tampa Bay play, and then Chicago Cincinnati play. Those are the play against, along with Tennessee and the Giants in the play on. So you got 6 this week with that one. Our underdog trend went 8-1-1 last week, which is as good as you could expect, right? Underdogs from 1 to 3 points, we told you cover 60% of the time in the preseason since 2015. 60%, 60 to 40. That's a damn good number, right? And lo and behold, last week, good week for underdogs. That went 8-1-1. This week, if you want to play that, it would be Buffalo, Washington, Dallas, Eagles, Bungles, Dolphins, Rams, and Houston Texans. Oh, well, Houston last night getting the push. So we're 0-1. So you have the other 7 games. The road dogs of 2.5 points or less, so not 1 to 3, any underdog. This has to be a road dog, and it's only 2.5 points. You got 2 plays. Washington plus 1.5 against Detroit, and then Dallas plus 1.5 against Arizona. So, yes, to some of these trends, I hear you saying, this guy that, you told me to play against Washington, or you told me to play against Dallas. Now you're telling me to play on them. Yeah, some of these trends do run over each other, and you got to pick which one sometimes that you want to believe in, or you just stay away from the game. We'll calculate it as separate wins and losses. But, if you really dive into trends and you believe in all, then you stay away from that game and just see how it plays itself out. Our over-under marks went 9-7 last week. And that was totals 37 points or lower, you bet the over, or points 37.5 or higher, you bet the under. So 56% of the time in the last 15 years has the above number hit. 60% of the time did the over numbers hit in preseason games. So it's pretty, that's again, that's a, you're not going to win them all, but that's a pretty good clip. And that's, kind of what 9-7 was. So totals that are 37 or less right now. And these things change, and it should be based on, closing lines. That's generally how these things are, but I'll give you the number right now. You got 6 overs. They're all 36.5. So you got to go over because it's less than 37, right? Atlanta, Indy, Buffalo, Cleveland, Baltimore, Minnesota, Giants, Dolphins, Phillies, Patriots, Chicago, Cincinnati. The unders you bet, because the total is 37.5 or higher, that actually went 7-3 last week. The unders hit it on a great clip. So you actually got a bunch of them today. Now, this is week 2. Starters generally play a little bit more, which is why they might be a little bit higher. But, it's right around that number. It really is. So if you want to base it on closing line, but you got under Jets, Pittsburgh. Now, these are all 37.5s. Under Jets, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Jacksonville, Washington, Detroit, Saints, Rams, KC, Tampa Bay, Dallas, Arizona, Tennessee, Seattle Sunday night, which is 38.5, and then Green Bay, Denver tonight, which is 41.5. So it's not by coincidence, folks. We've had how many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 14 games, right? Not counting last night's games. Out of 14 games in a regular season, you'd probably have about 10, I would say, 10, 11 different over-under numbers. They'd all be pretty close, but, there'd be a 37.5, 38.5, 39.5, 40.5, right? So out of 14 games tonight and tomorrow and Sunday, you have 1, 2, 3, you have 4 different numbers. Everything is either 36.5, 37.5. There's 138.5 and there's 141.5. All the others are the same. What does that tell you? That tells you the boys in Vegas have no clue. Just no clue on what's going to happen. They look at the numbers we gave you and they say, let's post all these games basically right at those numbers. If they want to buy into all those high, if you will, numbers going under, well, then we're going to make them pay the price because we're going to put them right at 37.5. We're not going to put them at 40.5 or 41.5. The same thing with the 36.5 going over. There's 6 games. Let's put it right there. It's 36.5. Well, let's not give them any break at 33, 34. They really, and this is why people swear by the preseason, because the boys in Vegas, they don't know. They have no idea. They know regular season. They can break it all down. Absolutely. But preseason, they have no clue. And these numbers reflect that. Just really no idea. That's way, 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 way too much of a coincidence. There's another one I found in Mark Lawrence's coffee club. It is a good, good little thing that they send you every day. And I like the basics of it. Like he gave out the team that loses last week facing the team that wins this week, right? There's no other jargon. The longer a trend goes to explain it, the less important it really should be. When there's so many variables thrown in on a Monday night, on a day game, on a weekend game, off a win, off a loss, off an AFC, when all those things are thrown in there, they're just anomalies. They're really just, coincidences. That's all they are. Picture 10 games and a computer has all 10 games and you ask the computer, give me the common denominator in all 10 of those games. Oh, the winning team scored 9 times. Or, the winning team kicked the field goal on its third drive, or third score. It's got no bearing on how the game turned out. It's just a common denominator. That's all, an anomaly. So the less you have, the better. And he gave one out, the team coming off a loss versus a team coming off a win in the preseason. What did he say? It was 104-79. That's 25 games over 500. That's, again, for gambling purposes, it doesn't sound like a lot if you're not a gambler, but that's a pretty good clip. It really is. So the other one we have is just nice and simple when the NFC team hosts the AFC team. Simple as that. Last couple of seasons, it's been 50, 27, and 1 over. 23 more overs than unders. That's pretty good. You don't get that many, each week. You get generally 4 or 5 at most. This week, it's only 2. An NFC team hosting an AFC team. You got Kansas City playing at Tampa Bay, and you got Minnesota hosting Baltimore. So you only have 2 spots this week. I looked it up last week. It went 2 and 3. So, take it for what it is. Now, we didn't have that many overs last week, so it was a strong under week last week. So, but, over Kansas City 37.5 and over 36.5 Baltimore. So that Baltimore-Minnesota 36.5 that's the double dipper. That's where the wise guys center in and say, boy, that falls under both trends. You watch. I guarantee you right now, as I sit here, it's 36.5. That's a game tomorrow night. That won't be 36.5. It'll go to 37.5, maybe 38.5, just because they'll see those trends. And then the trend flips, though. But then it says bet the under for one of them. So pick your poison, right? That's just how trends are. Sometimes they look good because they fit, and it moves a point and a half, 2 points, and all of a sudden the trend is no longer there. So what do you do with that? So they're nice, these trends. We'll bet them religiously just to figure out how they all turned out. But would I put serious money on a game based on a trend? No, just because of that. And you'll see regular season. We'll run down every single game on Fridays. We'll have Mark on. Might have Colby Dan on doing some college football. We might have him on Thursday. And we got Jeff Dawson coming on every week as well. But I'll run down either way, every single game. And I'll give you 2 or 3 solid trends for each team. And you just kind of pick which one you give more credence to. So that'll be a lot of fun. All right, quick little break. We'll come back. We'll look at some of the games this weekend, some of the games tonight. There's one in particular, Mark, like the Green Bay Packers. I like that one as well. We'll preview the 3 games. We got some other things to get to, including all our other picks. And then we got some college football notes. One of the dumbest decisions in the history of college football happened just a couple of years ago, believe it or not. We'll go down memory lane with that. And then, the dildos are back. I kid you not. That's coming up on the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStream Sports.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the J.P. Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our FanStream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream. FanStreamSports.com.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka. Named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly. Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show on a fabulous football Friday. But baseball actually, in a lot of ways, taking center stage with Rafi Devers heading back to Boston. Talked about that in hour number one. Had Mark Lawrence on, talking a little NFL. Got some winning picks from him. He likes the Denver Broncos later on tonight. I like the, believe it or not, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know our good buddy Timmy from Pittsburgh says no Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. I figured Rodgers was not going to play. I thought maybe, just maybe, Rudolph would play the presumed second string quarterback. But you know what? They didn't play last week, and they still beat Green Bay. Aller came off the bench in the fourth quarter, looked terrific. I don't necessarily expect that to happen 2 times in a row. But here's my thinking with that. I can't help but think, I know Aaron Rodgers is not going to play, right? But he has stated many times he just hated his 2 years here in New York with the Jets. Just hated the organization. They left him out to dry, didn't back him, threw away all his players and all the coaches. It was just a disastrous 2 years here, right? When it was supposed to be the greatest thing. So, whereas I don't think he had that angst against against the Green Bay Packers last week, I can't help but think he's going to be on the sidelines. And I know it's only a preseason game. I get all that, but knowing he can't play to take part in it, I think he's going to be on the sidelines coaching his guys up, and they're going to want to win one for the Gipper, if you will. And I think Pittsburgh's going to come. It's a home game for the Steelers as well. I think they're going to come out blazing. I really do. Whereas the Jets played Tampa Bay last week. Jets played their starters. Tampa Bay didn't. Jets have a head coach who says he wants to win. Bucs have a head coach that said he didn't want to win. And the Buccaneers won by double digits. They think the Jets still couldn't beat them. They're going to be Jets and Dolphins are both going to be so bad. So even though the Jets, again, are using their starters this week, it doesn't matter. The Jets starters are worse than most teams' backups. Simple as that. Simple as that. And then you throw the emotion and everything else into the equation. Yeah, I like the Pittsburgh Steelers getting a 1.5 tonight. And I like Denver, or I like Green Bay too, just because, everything Mark said is, well, and the 5.5 for a preseason game, that's like getting 10.5 in a regular season game. Most of these preseason games go right down to the wire. And I can't help but think that Green Bay, and that was a misleading score also with the Packers last week with Pittsburgh. That was a 1-score game, 1-point game in the fourth quarter, and then Pittsburgh blitzed them for 2-3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So I think that game will be a little bit closer. And I don't think Bo Nix is going to play later on tonight either with his ankle injury. So I'd be a little surprised. Michael writes in, Michael Grant, one of our LLs here, San Francisco playing at Boston tonight. Red Sox. What do you think? Does he get booed? Like I said earlier, Mike, I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I don't think he will. I just like to. The Red Sox are contending. They got bigger fish to fry. If the Red Sox were 20 games out and there was nothing left on the season, then maybe. But they got bigger fish to fry. That's the biggest thing right now. They're playing well. They took 2 out of 3 against Arizona, so they shouldn't be too grumpy. San Francisco stinks. The next to last place. They're going nowhere. I think he gets a cheer. I really do. College football. How about a little memory lane? Yes. I was watching this. I didn't watch the whole game. This was a Saturday night game. What was this, 2 years ago? 3 years ago? 3 years ago. And I'm flipping the channels, and you know how they just go from game to game to game. That's where I picked it up. I was going from game to game to game. The beautiful thing about college football, you got games on the 4-letter network. You got them on Fox. You got them on CBS, NBC, CBS Sports. There's like literally 7-8 different outlets to watch these college football games, right? So I'm flipping all the channels, and I think I had a bet on Georgia Tech. But I had them getting the points, so it was going to be a winner, right? So really all I wanted to do is just Nothing stupid happened. Just take a knee, right? It's first down, maybe second down. We'll see here in a second. With 37 seconds left. Miami football, Miami leading by 4 or 5 or so. Disaster happens. This adds up to like Joe Pisarcik handing the ball off to Larry Zonka. It's actually a good analogy, Scott. Yeah, that's kind of it. That's like this is the college. That's really good. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is the college. We got the Joe Pisarcik, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles handoff. Just take a knee, and then Herm Edwards picks it up, and we know the rest is history. Eagles make the playoffs thanks to that win. This is Miami. Same thing. Up a score against Georgia Tech. Final seconds. Just take a freaking knee.
Handing this football off. Right. I don't know what Miami is doing.
That's it. And here's Chaney. The straight ahead tackled, and the ball popped out.
You got to read the clock. Read the card. To me,
Georgia Tech has it with 26 seconds left.
26
to the field
left.
for King. Up in the pocket.
That's Haynes King.
Down the field, and it is caught. And that's Rutherford, who hangs on to it in Miami territory. Green. Here's King from the pocket. Flush to his right with 6. 5. Going to loop it downfield. And ball is caught. Touchdown, Georgia Tech.
Unbelievable.
With 1 second to go in the ball game, Christian Leary hauls it in.
That's one of the biggest coaching mistakes at this level that I have ever seen in my lifetime.
That was true. Mario Cristobal. I don't know why they showed that guy. Mario, unbelievable. Just take a knee, right? Just take a knee. This is why people don't trust Miami. He just finds a way to lose games and does some of these stupid things. But I remember, I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right? And there was like 1 or 2 incompletions in between those 2 completions. But when he got that first completion, it was like, oh my, you got to be kidding me. You could feel watching it on TV, 2,000 miles away or whatever I am from Miami, right? You could feel that thing just, oh my God, they're going to win this game. I didn't necessarily think it, but then he got the ball back with 26 seconds left. But when they made that first completion, I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. Wait and see. I think there was an incompletion after that play, and then the touchdown pass. And it's just like, wow, what are you doing, dude? What are you doing? And I remember his excuse was just like, well, we were just, it wasn't we miscalculated, because he can't miscalculate. It was second down. It wasn't even like it was fourth down. He just justified it as, well, we're here to play a football game, and we wanted to play out the string, and then the guys, supposed to do this, and they're supposed to do that. Yeah, but you're supposed to coach too, you want to lay it off on the players. Yeah, they're supposed to hold on to the football, but you're supposed to coach to win. You don't give them a chance. Oh, just stupid. Just stupid. At least the Pisarcik Zonka one, and that was 30 years ago, right? And I know, we're so more analytical now on what to do and when to do it and why to do it. Back then, it was just like, play football. There's time on the clock, hand the ball off, right? I got Larry Zonka. I got a Hall of Famer. Hand the ball off. So it wasn't, it was. Living in New York, I'll never forget that. I'm watching the game, right? And here in New York, New Jersey, actually, I was in New Jersey. You only got 2 games, and then you got a bonus game. They generally would split New York and New York, right? The Giants, we'll just say, played 1 o'clock, and the Jets played 4 o'clock. Then the 4 o'clock window, you get a second game. So I'm watching the Giants, and I'm a Giant fan, and I'm see them, they got the lead. All right, so I flip over to the Jet game, forget who they were playing, just to see if it started. I flip back 30 seconds tops later, right? And I see the Eagles celebrating in the end zone. And I'm a little kid, right? I'm like, what the fudge happened? What would happen? And then, you see the replay, and so it's like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding. Same thing. Same thing with this Miami Georgia Tech. It's just
Scott, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the Joe Pisarcik play, right? They didn't have the kneel down play in the NFL back then. That play is what started the kneel downs in the NFL.
Probably.
I was in elementary school when that happened, but it seems like I remember, my dad telling me later, like, that's the play that started the kneel down.
That started all that allowed the quarterback just to take it in. Yeah, that's him, my producer. Good job. You're right about that. So it's not that they said he shouldn't have handed the ball, or Yeah, they did continue to say he should have just taken a knee and just be tackled, but you are risking being tackled. It wasn't like now you could give yourself up. You just take a knee. You're right, and that was probably the play that started it all. Coaches got fired left and right. Eagles made the playoffs because of that play. But yeah, good point. You're right. They couldn't just take a knee and flip the ball to the official like they do now. So. Yeah, I'll never forget it. Watching the game, right? And I tuned back 30 seconds later. I see the Eagles. I thought it was a highlight from halftime or so. I'm like, what? They can't be celebrating. They didn't even have the ball. And then you find out what happened. But the Georgia Tech one, I watched all the way through because like I said, I was flipping the channels and I happened to see that one. Just dumb. Well, like, why? Why would you? And then they tried to justify it. Then, Crystal Ball did. Instead of just coming out and saying, yeah, you know what? I had a brain fart. I had a brain fart. We weren't all on the same page. Like if you say stuff like that, if it's really true, then all right, you know what, you effed up, but okay, at least you're being honest about it. But he didn't. He tried to justify it. It's like doubling down on stupidity. No, dude. There's 36 seconds left. You take a knee, the game's over. You don't have to take another play. Why would you ever take the chance, right? Amazing. That was something. But I remember that. I do. By the way, Powerball, no winners, right? So we got our Powerball numbers from the other day. So I forgot to check. We did it the one day when it was 100 million. And then I was in the supermarket. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to get Powerball numbers. And I bought one. And then I realized, oh, that's right, somebody won. Not that I would have turned, back $5 million, right? So, but I didn't look it up. I wasn't like, whatever, right? So I looked it up yesterday. Not only didn't I get any numbers on this ticket, I checked the other ticket from the other day because remember we had one number that was different, and then I put in a birthday one for my kids and that sort of thing. So I had 15 possible, really 16 because you get the Powerball numbers. So I had 18 possible numbers on 3 separate tickets. Not only didn't I win, obviously the whole kit and caboodle. Not only didn't I get second place or third place, or fourth place, or fifth, or sixth, or seventh place. I got nothing. I had 18 numbers, about probably 14, about 14 or 15 different numbers. I didn't get one freaking number. In 2 weeks of drawings, I had 6 drawings. Forget about winning. I didn't get one lousy number. And I had 14 different numbers. Not one. Oh, it's stuff like that just reminds you of you're not winning. You're not winning. You aren't. I don't know who does. Do people really win? Really? Do they make the stories up? I mean, it is so freaking hard. You live the dream and you think about how much money you're going to make and who you're going to give money to and you're going to be, good about things. You don't got a shot in the world. The amount of money these states and this country makes on lotteries just based on a dream. I mean, it's a great gimmick, though. It might be the greatest advertising slogan of all time. You got to be in it to win it. And it's right. I mean, everything I say about you're not going to win, you don't have a chance in the world, it's 1 in a gazillion, blah, 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 blah. But you got to be in it, though, to win it, Scott. So, yeah, it brings you in. It does hook you in. It's amazing. Our world has gone nuts here, by the way. So I got a story out of our local newspaper, Newsday. Woman charged in a plot to bomb New York City, the capital of New York, in Albany. Some woman who joined Islam 5 years ago. You just look at the picture of her. There she is buying bomb equipment at Home Depot, by the way. So what do you think? Does she kind of stand out there? I mean, you see a person that's dressed like that, cover it all up. Nuts. Then I got a Long Islander who's allegedly sent a death threat to President Trump. Now, who would want to kill President Trump, right? I mean, come on. He's got enough pot shots to take it at him. People are nuts. And if that doesn't take the cake, the Lindsay Clancy story, right? You've been following her. She's the nutcase that killed her 3 little kids. So her court case was in Massachusetts yesterday. I'm sure it's continuing today. We have people lined up. I don't know if you can see it in the picture there. People lined up in support of her. She killed her 3 kids. She's nuts. Now, she's admittedly nuts. She knows she's nuts. I get that she tried to get help and the system failed, right? But she still killed her own 3 freaking kids. And you got people outside the courthouse, supporting her. Who the hell would support a person who killed her 3 kids? I mean, are you nuts? You want to protest the system, okay, but that's different than supporting her. Not to mention, right? We say this all the time, that there's somebody for somebody, right? There's always somebody out there for everybody. What kind of nutcase would marry this broad? I mean, she's a psycho to begin with. She's had a history of mental illness, and she found somebody that would marry that. And then she obviously, has kids with them. Crazy. This world is just nuts. So speaking of nuts, nuts and bolts or nuts and dildos. Yes, the dildos are back. WNBA game last night. Someone threw a dildo on the floor. Here's the funny thing.
Hey, what are you guys? Come on.
They're afraid to touch them. Look at they throw a rag over.
What a hero.
Oh, they throw it. So someone in the stand, they throw a dildo on the court. This happened last year for a bunch of games, or maybe earlier this year. Then it kind of stopped. Now it's back again, right? So big green dildo. And they let it sit there, and then they throw a towel over it, right? And I'm thinking to myself, listen, nothing from nothing, but the league is 90% lesbians. I got a feeling they've seen a dildo before, right? I mean, I'm not trying to poke fun of anybody. I'm just being honest. Chances are pretty good they picked up a dildo before, right? So meanwhile, they keep it on the court. Then they got this towel over it like it's a rat or something, and then they just let it sit there. They're all afraid to pick it up like it's going to explode, like it's a bomb or something. Rather than just grab it and pick it up off the court and get it done with, right? I honestly hope that doesn't start up again, because it was this year, right? For about, I want to say a good 2 weeks, that was the thing. And more times than not, it was green. I'm not sure what the green represents, but, money, envy, I don't know. But, yeah, for about 2 weeks early this season, that was the big thing. Someone would throw dildos on the court. The WNBA, I don't know what they're going to do. They have so many issues, so many just stupid things. It's just, I don't think society will allow them to become mainstream. Although I tell you, the Indiana Fever are the Indiana Fever. With all their stories, and now they had a woman get 20 points for 37 straight games, sets a WNBA record. Mitchell. They are on the map. They for better or worse, which is what happens when when you're on the map. You have your positives and you have your negatives. And whatever side you're on with Sophie and Caitlin Clark and the dopey head coach and everything else, they are on the map. They're on the map more than a bunch of other teams. Are you more? And I'll tell you, just as an example, I'll send out retweets or tweets, whatever, on Twitter. And I get way, not even close, way more responses from a WNBA Caitlin Clark tweet or Sophie Cunningham tweet or head coach tweet or Christine Engelberg tweet, the dopey commissioner, than I get on anything else, even football, even NFL. I mean, I could say Caitlin Clark is great. I could say she's awful. And I get 10 people that'll respond, agreeing or disagreeing. I mean, they are mainstream. I mean, you talk about some of the other teams around, the different sport, NFL. I could send stuff out about the Tennessee Titans 24/7 and get no responses, right? I could send stuff out about the Los Angeles Chargers. Maybe a little, Herbert, with his girlfriend at practice, maybe a little something. I could send out 1,000 tweets on the Carolina Panthers. Like, who freaking cares? I mean, nobody, right? But I'll send out a tweet with, Caitlin Clark. Boom. I'll get 50,000 responses. I could send a tweet out about the Tampa Bay Devil Rays about how great they're playing, right? Nobody. The tree fall in the woods. No one's around. Does it make a noise? Same thing with the Miami Marlins. Same thing with the Kansas City Royals. Same thing with the LA Angels, unless it's Mike Trout is the most overrated player in the history of mankind tweet. Rockies are so bad that, people are interested in them. Nobody cares about the Chicago White Sox, even though they're a great story. So there's a Pittsburgh Pirates, unless it's a Skeens thing. Otherwise, forget about it. NBA, I could send out 1,000 tweets on the Sacramento Queens and forget about it. Peep. Nobody but nobody. New Orleans Pelicans, unless we're looking to make fun of Fatso Zion Williamson. Otherwise, nothing. Portland Jailblazers, who cares? Utah Jazz, who cares? Right? So there's 4 or 5 different teams in each league that are lower than the Indiana Fever when it comes to publicity. And it's probably even more than that, to tell you the truth. I mean, they're for better word, they're on the map. They are. You could have a conversation in a bar about Indiana, the Fever, and Caitlin and Sophie. You can't have a conversation about the New Orleans Pelicans or the Tennessee Titans or and any other teams that I mentioned. Can't do that. So that they've come a long way. So Timothy writes in again. My ex-wife loves that kid the kid killer lady. Good thing I got out of there, Scott. Who's the kid killer lady? Oh, the kid killer lady. Your ex-wife loves her? How the hell can she love her? She's a killer. She's a murderer, Tim. Yikes. You're right about that as far as getting out of that. Good thing. Otherwise, forget about it. So, otherwise, I won't even say it. I won't even suggest it. So, all right, we got 3 plays for you tonight, as we always do. Thank goodness for the Raider comeback. We went 1-2 last night. So we hit with the Raiders. We missed with the over. I tell you, I'm not doing it ever again. I swear to God, I'm never doing it ever again. And that's betting against the WNBA line movement, even if it's only 1.5. Indiana, Dallas went way under. There was a point in time when Indiana was scoring 100 points a game. They were just automatic overs, but not anymore. And that line dropped 1.5. And they said, it's only, I generally look for like 2-point moves. Nope. I'm telling you, and it's pretty easy. Why? Because no one bets the WNBA, and if the wise guy bets the WNBA, it's because they know something or they have good insight into something. And it doesn't take a lot of money for the line to move. And if you believe the wise guys know some things, and I do to a certain extent, then okay, they're betting the under on that game. So follow the money, but I didn't. I went the other way. And then we lost with the dopey Houston Astros. Oh, they just awful. It's 18-3 against the Los Angeles Angels. Arguably the worst team, certainly in the American League, if not all of baseball. As soon as you buy into this Astro team, soon as you buy in, and I bought in at the All-Star break, bet their second half over, they stink. They're not winning anything. So they killed us last night. So we're 30-21-1, still up $630, but that minus 175 on the Astros hurt us big. So, but let's get back to the winner's window tonight. Let's go back to what made Milwaukee famous, as the saying goes. Just back to good angles. I will start in the NFL. I'll grab Pittsburgh plus 1.5 against the Jets. I know that, like I said, 2 guys, Rodgers not playing, Rudolph's not playing, but that's okay. Jets are just awful. If they couldn't beat Tampa Bay at home last week, then I don't think they're going to win this week. I'll take Pittsburgh getting 1.5 at home. Like I said, I think Rodgers is going to be on the sidelines coaching those players up. He's going to wait till the very last whistle. They're all going to be excited. So I'll take my chances. Steelers win. I'll grab Washington plus 2.5 against Minnesota in the WNBA. This line has sucker written all over it. Minnesota is the best team in the WNBA. They were just out in Las Vegas. They won the game. Now they're taking on an improved, Washington team. They're a lot better than what people thought they would be. And how come the line is only 2.5, Scott? Exactly. They're begging you. They're begging you to take Minnesota. They just beat Las Vegas on the road. But think about that. That was, Wednesday? They were in Las Vegas, had to fly all the way on the East Coast to face a mediocre Washington team. This has got letdown written all over it. Watch Washington win tonight. Give me the Mystics plus 2.5 in the WNBA. And then I'll take the Dodgers later on tonight, laying a 1.5 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Better team, that they swept Colorado. Pittsburgh stinks. You got Yamamoto on the hill as well for the Dodgers. Listen, they're not great. I told you that. Laying a 1.5. They're one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. Believe it or not, they get a bunch of one-run wins, but I'll take my chances that they find a way to get the job done and win, 6-3, 6-2, hopefully any kind of look like that. So Pittsburgh in football, Dodgers, and then Washington Mystics plus 2.5 our 3-cap for today. All right. Good job by Mark Lawrence joining us. Playbooksports.com. Check out his website, playbooksports.com. I'm going to be on in-game live here in about an hour over at Sports Grid if you want to tune in over there. Otherwise, go to FanStream Sports. Check out all the other shows from this past week and in previous weeks. You can listen to those. Otherwise, we'll be back next Monday, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on FanStream Sports. Let's cash a couple of tickets, make some money over the weekend. Enjoy the weekend, folks, and we'll talk to you next week on FanStream Sports.